Not EJ, not now. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, okay.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the August 26, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Outsiders Christian Camping, a place where your life can change. Okay, Ernest Jones, right at the top. It's ahead of the cuts. It's ahead of the Texan game. Ernest Jones was reported yesterday as seeking a trade by ESPN. Ernest Jones' X account says, I never asked for a trade. And then, of course, it was deleted. Ernest Jones just went to another level last year. We all appreciated that. 5 sacks in the regular season, according to PFF. And he had another in the playoffs. And he was coming into his own, still is. And with Donald's retirement, truly expected to be one of the spiritual leaders of this defense and the captain, right? And he's scheduled to make 3.3 rocks this year, $200,000 in bonus money, 3.1 in salary that's applied to the cap. And contract talks hit an impasse, and the Rams and Team Jones apparently seem to have agreed to let him go find out what he's worth. And and that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where it gets really difficult, because you love Ernest Jones. He excelled at a position that the Rams don't place high value on. A lot of teams in the NFL don't place high value, which is just amazing, because when I started watching the NFL when I was a kid, the middle linebacker was the quarterback of the defense. I could rattle off the starting middle linebackers of teams I grew up watching as quick as I could their quarterbacks. And then just to see that position just kind of take a back seat to the others, it's really something else, right? But here's the thing. The Rams are not going to pay that kind of bread to a linebacker. The Ravens pay Roquan Smith 20 rocks a year. The 49ers pay Fred Warner 19 rocks. The Bears pay Tremaine Edmonds $18 million. The Bills pay Matt Milano $14.2. Steeler fan Rob was all excited because the Steelers signed Patrick Queen, and they're paying him 13.6 rocks, along with whatever, I think it's $20 million to Minka Fitzpatrick at safety. That's about 33 rocks tied up in a linebacker and a safety. And then the Texans are paying Aziz Al-Shahar 11.3. Do you see the Rams paying 11.3 for Ernest Jones? He's not Bobby Wagner in his prime. And I know Bobby Wagner made serious money, but he's not Bobby Wagner in his prime. I love Bobby Wagner. I like Ernest Jones better. But when I look at the Ravens, 49ers, Bears, Bills, Steelers, Texans, I don't see any Super Bowl winners here. Texans haven't been to a Super Bowl ever. The Steelers haven't been to a Super Bowl since January of 2011. Bills haven't gotten back to the Super Bowl. Bears haven't gotten back to the Super Bowl in almost 18 years. And the Ravens, well, they haven't been to a Super Bowl at all since the days of Joe Flacco. And Lamar's got 2 MVPs, but he's got 1 playoff win. What are you paying all that money for? Now, the 49ers have been to 2 Super Bowls. They've lost them both. It wasn't Fred Warner's fault, but maybe those resources could have been better allocated along the offensive line, right? Wouldn't you like to take a few of that 19 mil right now and give some of that to Trent Williams? We're just looking at this here. You're not going to pay that kind of money. When the Rams didn't extend Jones in the spring, we knew. It was a bummer, but we knew. And we still hoped, but we knew, right? They won Super Bowl 56 with Jones playing as a rookie and a UDFA named Troy Reeder, right? They're just not going to pay that kind of money. and painful to say, he is someone you can move off of. I don't want to see it happen. I prefer to keep him. I think the team is better with him, but they're just not going to hamstring themselves for other decisions they got to make down the road. What happens if Puka Nacua has another year close to what he did last year? At some point, you're going to have to sign him, right? You're going to have to work out a contract extension or a new contract for him. What happens if Matthew Stafford goes down? Well, the Rams quarterback of the future is not in the building. You better have some dough set aside. What happens when maybe the Rams decide they want to move off Alaric Jackson? They're going to need some dough put aside, and you're not going to invest it double-digit money into an off-ball linebacker. You're just not. And the Rams have made hard calls before. Robert Woods, Jalen Ramsey being some of the best and most recent examples. You hated to see those guys go. You hated to see JJ go the first time around after the 2020 season. And here's the difference between the Rams and the Cowboys and why the Rams have been able to stay relevant this whole time. I see your questions, guys. I promise I'll get to them. Did you see what the Cowboys did? They gave 136 rocks, 38 guaranteed for 4 years to CeeDee Lamb. And they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be next year. And likely, are they going to give more money to Dak Prescott because they feel like they can't get anybody? So what they're doing is doubling down on bad, because CeeDee Lamb alone isn't going to get you a playoff win or get you to the conference finals or get you to the Super Bowl. We've seen that already. We've already seen that with Dak Prescott. But instead of making hard choices, the Cowboys are just doubling down on mediocrity. Yeah, they've won 12 games each of the last few years, but goodness, if you're in a division with the Texans and the Giants the last couple of years, that's 4 wins right off the top, okay? And so the Cowboys won't make those hard decisions, which they should have. They should have traded CeeDee Lamb. They should have moved him and start rebuilding this franchise, because you can always get another CeeDee Lamb. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, you can get an Ernest Jones. I hope he stays. He's got no place to go. The Rams don't have to trade him. All he can do is to continue to create a market for himself. I understand him wanting the contract. I totally get it. Not sure exactly what he's asking, but we see what other high-end linebackers are getting. We don't see any of their teams winning Super Bowls. We don't. But he should consider sticking around for a little less opportunity, for a little less to get the opportunity to have a second Super Bowl ring, right? I mean, that's something you keep forever. And it's easy for me to say, settle for less money. But the truth is, when you're in that position, being an off-ball linebacker in the NFL right now is like trying to get a job with a degree in gender studies. You better just take what they give you, because no one's really going to give you anything. And that's just the way the mop flops. Hey, guys, I see your questions popping up here. Let's look at some of them right now. USA Expat, I see you there. Same time, same Rand Cave. Welcome back. I was a little late this morning. Sorry about that guy. Or today. Sorry about that guy. Rob Sorge, that's why our defense is better than yours. Have a great defense. Great. Beautiful. When was the last time you won a playoff game? When was the last time you've been to the Super Bowl? When was the last time you won a Super Bowl? Yeah. Okay. Steve Ramirez, Haskell Reynolds, Mad Dog Curtis, but the Baltimore Colts, those days are gone. Now the off-ball linebacker is draft, develop, let walk, and repeat. Absolutely. USA Expat, this is a Shula defense now. Hey, it's all on him. They brought it up. He replaces a popular Raheem Morris. He replaces a popular Raheem Morris, and then he loses Aaron Donald, and now he's going to lose the green dot guy. He's going to lose Ernest Jones. I don't think he's going to lose Ernest Jones. I don't think, because Ernest Jones doesn't have any options unless somebody really wants to fork something over. I do not see the Rams letting Ernest Jones go to a team within the division or even in the conference that they could possibly see. If you want to give Ernest Jones to the Carolina Panthers, that's great. You won't see him again in the postseason, and chances are where they'll be drafting, you could pick up some nice, draft capital for him. But no, the Rams aren't going to let him go that way. If he sits out, he sits out. He only hurts himself. It's a bummer, but that's just where it is. Rams won't be back for the next 50 years. But Steeler fan Rob, I appreciate your hospitality. I appreciate you actually spending $17 on us to have breakfast the last day we were in Missouri. But Steeler fan Rob in Missouri, come on, right? You're going to war with Russell Wilson. You're going to war with Russell Wilson, and you're ready to let Russ cook, and you're talking about the Rams? All right, yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's look at some other stuff here real quick, and we can come back talk to Ernest Jones. Of course, word leaked yesterday about the Rams releasing Boston Scott and that they're only keeping 3 running backs. Maybe that means that extra wide receiver everyone's talking about. Yeah, the Boston Scott, I thought, I didn't think he looked terrible. I thought Ronnie Rivers, maybe. I made that suggestion, I think, on Friday. I kind of want Zach Evans to stick around. Zach Evans is likely to get cut. Zach Evans is likely to end up on the Rams practice squad, and I'm good with that because opportunity will probably arise during the season. But the other thing I'm thinking about, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it, correct me if I'm wrong, the new kickoff format is that I don't think you need to be a classic kick returner a la Wallace Francis, Herb Mulkey, Devin Hester, that kind of stuff. The way it's coming down now, you just have to be a competent guy with the football. I think we've seen, what was it, Drake Stoops. We've seen Boston Scott. I think we've seen, Xavier Smith. We've seen Tyler Johnson. I think the way it's set up now, different guys, not worried about getting pounded, different guys can handle that kickoff return. And so that kind of made Boston Scott a little more expendable, is that there are other guys that can do that with the way that the format is set up with that kick return. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Other players cut. Ochoan Mathis, kind of saw that one coming. I don't think that was a surprise. Mathis looked the part, right? Mathis reminds me a little bit of Terrell Lewis. Really looked the part. Looks like a beast in uniform. And he had speed. He just never really could produce anything. Never really got there. And, I thought he was ahead of Nick Hampton when last year's season began, because I thought Nick Hampton looked overwhelmed early on, but Nick Hampton obviously has improved. Dresser win. If the Rams bring him back, it'll be the practice squad, but, I don't know if it really bodes well. Carlos Watkins was a camp body. Olakunle Fatukasi played well. Doesn't mean these guys are completely gone, giving them an opportunity. JJ Lapp, good for him. He had his moment. If he never has another moment, he had a moment, right? And then the offensive linemen, Blake Larson, Alec Lindstrom, Grant Miller, Matt Caskey. Those guys were walking the mile after the first preseason game. And then the second preseason game with McVay went with the same offensive line. They're gone. Cam McCutcheon, I don't think that's a mystery. McCutcheon did not look good compared to the other UDFAs the Rams brought in. So Roderick Thompson got cut. That was no big surprise considering he was just a camp body brought in for the last preseason game. Good for him. He gets a paycheck, gets a little more exposure. Around the NFL and other places, CeeDee Lamb gets cut. I'm sorry, doesn't get cut. CeeDee Lamb gets the big contract, 4 years, 138 rocks. But what are the Cowboys going to do? Does that mean they're going to sign Dak Prescott? They're going to extend him. So they're going to go another 4 years with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. As a Ram fan, I'm thrilled. I think it's great. I think it's just adds to the Cowboy misery. Let them win 10 to 12 games for the next 4 years and then never get anywhere past the first round of the playoffs. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. With the Taxkins playing well, that road might be a little bit more difficult. Philly still has a lot of talent. That road might not be as easy as they think. They never should have signed CeeDee Lamb. They should have dealt him if he was going to hold out. They knew that was coming in the spring. They should have moved him early, got rid of him, and then just plunged in and took a look at this last draft class that went through. Maybe they could have moved up and got into this last draft class, but man, that's the mismanagement of the Jones boys. Around the NFL and other places, former Ram Terrell Burgess is not cut by the Bills. He's placed on the injured reserve, where Taylor Rapp is still with the Bills as well. Colts waive Keaton Slovis. Chances are he'll probably end up back in college, play a 5th or 6th year of college football. Dolphins release quarterback Mike White. That's a guy that was out there that I thought, ooh, could he be somebody the Rams bring in for a cup of coffee? Vikings waive Matt Corral, the former Ole Miss guy, and the former Minnesota running back, Minnesota Gopher, Mohamed Ibrahim, who had some knee injuries, and just names that you recognize. Cardinals released former Ram Chris Garrett. Lions released Donovan People-Jones, former wide receiver with the Browns. Browns also cut Lucas Haversick. Do you think Luke Haversick just knows? He doesn't even get phased anymore. He goes, oh, I was cut this week. His wife doesn't even react anymore, probably. And the Broncos, it says, will be moving on, not officially released yet, from wide receiver Tim Patrick, who started his career with a lot of promise, got extended, and then missed 2 years with injuries. That was kind of a bummer. Interesting, former Steeler, KC and New England receiver Juju Smith-Schuster signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Back on a redemption tour there. Titans trade Malik Willis, the Liberty quarterback, to Green Bay for a 7th-round pick. And if you saw, was it Sunday night? I think it was last night. It was last night. If you saw the Patriots and Taxkins, do the Patriots look like a disaster or what? What's your thoughts about the Patriots? Because, boy, they look bad. They looked really bad. And they were running some starters out there. They looked really bad, right? And there was all this talk about Drake May isn't ready. I don't know if Gerard Mayo is ready. I don't know if that franchise is ready. There's a lot of unready in New England, and it's not just Drake May, who didn't look as unready as everyone said he was. And then going back to the Ram broadcast, we'll talk a little bit about that game here in a second on the other side of the break. It's so funny is that I never had a problem with Mina Kimes in other seasons, right? And I don't know if she's just trying harder, but just listening to her talk, it's like, man, she's like bucking to be the next Troy Aikman. If there's something obvious she needs to say, she says it. And I'm like, shouldn't you just be providing a little background on the players or something? Do you have to be breaking down the game for us, the strategy of the game? Isn't that MJD's job, or wasn't it Andrew Whitworth's job? There was a muffed punt by the Texans early in the game, and she goes, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you make a play. And I'm like, was she watching the game? No Ram made a play. Yeah, Ely fell on the ball, but no Ram made the play and caused the fumble. It was a muffed punt. And I got, what are you doing, right? It just grates to hear. And so, no more Mina Kimes. I can move on from there. All right, I'm Joe Terosian as a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law, KistlerLawFirm.com. Check it out. And Temple City Auto Repair, thanks to them, I get to do this. I also write books. My books are on Amazon, and you can check them out there. Joe Terosian, type that in, and I've written 2 high school football novels that sold really well, got good reviews, and you can check out some of my other work there, and you'll come to see that my day job that this work allows me to stay in is I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene, and you can find us right here on YouTube with our Burbank Faith Virtual channel, as well as BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. If you have any questions about that, there you go. Feel free to throw them my way. And I got a new book coming out called Game Day in the Ram Cave. Cover is done. Just working out some last minute details here. And I'm hoping before the week's out that we get to release it. It's a novel, and but not too long. But I hope you guys will check it out, because every time you buy something, and you have, which I super appreciate, keep me on the air. Don't do a Patreon. I don't have a paywall. So we survive by our sponsors and by your guys' good graces. So let's look at a couple more questions here and go from there. Bill, who starts in the middle for the Rams defense? Great question, right? I think it's going to be Ernest Jones, because I don't know if the Rams are going to move him to somebody in the NFC. And then you got to find somebody maybe in the AFC that's not only willing to give up something for him, but isn't Ernest Jones going to say, hey, I need my money, right? If I'm going to leave a contender for another Super Bowl, I better be getting what I'm asking for, right? And so that kind of narrows it even more. And so, I heard the talk on some podcasts that, hey, Omar Speights, I like Omar Speights, but man, come on, we've seen Omar Speights make a couple of special teams plays, right? I could see the Rams trying to get by with Troy Reeder and Christian Roseboom. That's what I see happening. It's not optimal, It doesn't destroy the defense like, say, losing Jared Verse or Kobe Turner would be, but it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, but it's not something you can overcome. You can't overcome. The Rams will overcome it if he's not there. But with him, man, the team's dynamic. The team is dynamic with him. Bill, what do you think the trade value of Jones is? I don't know. He was a 3rd-round pick. PFF graded him as the 13th best off-ball linebacker in the NFL last year. If you're watching him, and a team is desperate, I think you can get a 3rd or a 4th rounder for him. Easy a 4th rounder, a 3rd rounder, because a team would have to be desperate to make that trade, and the Rams don't have to trade him. The only one that truly suffers if he's not traded and he holds out is Ernest Jones. This isn't Matthew Stafford not showing up. This isn't Trent Williams not showing up. This is Brandon Ayuk showing up, but having a hold in. This is Ernest Jones. It's an off-ball linebacker who's a really good player, but playing off-ball linebacker, like I said, it's the equivalent of having a gender studies degree and trying to find a job. And it's just what it is. It's a bummer, but it is what it is. So my thing, it would be trying to find a team. I would not trade him to the NFC. I wouldn't put him in the NFC West. The Bears are already paying big money for a linebacker. I wouldn't send him to the Lions. Lions are a contender. I wouldn't send him to the Pack. Pack are a contender. I wouldn't send him to the Vikings. We got to play the Vikings. And then, where do you go? I wouldn't send him to the Falcons. Falcons are probably going to win the NFC South. So, maybe Carolina at the most in the NFC that I would send him to. And then you get a Carolina 3rd rounder. A 3rd-round pick from Carolina might net you the 65th to 70th pick in the draft. You can get a 3rd rounder from Carolina, provided they have one to separate from. But I don't think they would do it either, because again, the consensus around the league is most teams are not going to pay that money for an off-ball linebacker. Yeah. Do you think the Rams would I see that, Bill, but do you think the Rams would reunite him with Raheem, knowing that they could possibly see the Falcons in the playoffs this year? I wouldn't do it. The Rams are under no obligation to do it. Now, if Raheem and Atlanta wanted to say, hey, we'll give you a 2nd-round pick, man, then I think about it, right? And then I think about it. Maybe the Rams think his knee's not going to hold up. That was the only reason I could see them jumping at a deal. But I don't think it's his knee. I just think he's a good linebacker that wants to be paid better. Rams don't value that position. So he's going to go to the AFC. New England would kill to have Ernest Jones. That place is a nightmare. And you know what, Steve? I know Steve just put New England. If you didn't like somebody right now, you'd send them to New England, right? That's where you'd send them. I think the Patriots just biffed this whole thing by going Gerard Mayo. They should have went completely the opposite direction. Got an offensive coach, got a fresh start. Not Bill Belichick part 2, right? Yeah, I like Ernest Jones. I hope the relationship doesn't sour so much that they send him to New England, right? That would be a major bummerski here. Okay, let's do some Ram updates. Watching the game start on Saturday, you saw Logan Bruss, Bo Limmer, and Warren McClinder all out of the starting lineup, and there you had it. You knew, there was talk about Logan Bruss. Is he going to make the roster or not? I didn't think that was really a conversation. I thought he was in. I thought Limmer was in. McClendon is in. Dresser Wynn got the start, and that was the statement that McVay has Stetson in his good graces. Josh Carty, 5 of 6 on field goals this year and 2 of 3 on extra points. I know that extra point he missed did create a little bit of a gulp, and there was part of me at the end of the game, instead of the Rams going for 2 to try to tie it. I understand you don't want to lose, but I just would have wanted Josh Carty back out there to kick another extra point. But then again, what if he missed that extra point? Man, that would have been full panic in Ramland, right? Full panic. Hey, Biozayo, I'm going to get right back to you here. Let me blow through this real quick. You saw Case Keenum, Cam Akers, right? Cam Akers going against the Rams 3s and soon to be unemployed looked pretty quick. Good for him, though, in the sense that coming off 2 Achilles, that he's still in the league, still going. That was great. Skoranek was out there, and of course Robert Woods is with Houston. He didn't play. We saw Brennan Carnage Jackson getting snaps, and probably a reason why Ochoan Mathis is currently unemployed. Eli Neal hasn't been released yet. You know, you get a little romantic with Eli Neal. I saw number 58. I saw him drop that pick, and I'm thinking, oh, that's Isaiah, right? I had an Isaiah flashback. When you look at Xavier Smith, do you think less Tutu, more Brandon Powell? I know Xavier Smith played a lot. I know maybe the Rams are showcasing him. I have a hard time believing they're going to put Xavier Smith in the street, right? 3 running backs. Can they go 7 receivers? Can they? And then the other aspect of that too is, again, you know, Tutu's in the last year of his contract. I don't want to see Tutu moved, but you know, he would be a trade option. The Rams, I could see the Rams dealing him now and making room for Xavier Smith, possibly, right? You knew Les Snead was in the booth, and when Omar Speights wasn't playing, Les Snead said, "Man, you know, he's on the 48." Biozio, you're excited about Omar Speights. I am too, but you know, heed the words of the wolf here, right? I mean, let's not just yet get too excited. I mean, he's made some really good special teams plays. He's run around all over the field. You know, I want him to be great, and I hope he's great right away. But is he ready? Is he ready to start right now? That's a whole other thing. And you know, and then again, maybe the Rams are thinking, why do we need to sign Ernest Jones if we're maybe a half season from Omar Speights developing into something special, right? Quentin Lake interviewed on the side there. Lake spoke about his father, Carnell, who's very underrated as a player. Steeler fan Rob, hopefully you enjoyed Carnell Lake. And there you go. And then he spoke well about his dad taking care of him. So good for Quentin Lake. Good interview, quality person, typical Ram, right? And then I made the note. I'm not saying I was Nostradamus, but I made the note and I put a question mark next to it. Is Ochoan Mathis playing late? And I put a question mark, and that question mark kind of took care of itself. There you go. All right, I think we worked our way through here.
Stay in your lane, bro.
No, that's not the one I meant to push. I didn't mean to push that one either. I meant to push.
It was a stone group, my man.
Yeah, I haven't heard that for a few weeks. That was really good to listen to. On the flip side here, let's look at on this date in Rams history. On this date, 1968, the Rams waived Coy Bacon, released him the next day, but brought him back 2 days later and put him on the practice squad. Can you imagine waiving Coy Bacon? If Coy Bacon had played all of his years with the Rams, and if Coy Bacon, who was still sacking quarterbacks up to 1980, if it had been him instead of, say, Fred Dreyer, and I love Fred Dreyer. I'm not saying get rid of Fred Dreyer. But if it had been him, right, I think Coy Bacon would be a Hall of Famer. I think if Coy Bacon landed somewhere where there were some deep playoff runs, you know, he went from the Rams after 69, not going back to the playoffs till 73, and he was gone. He went to the Chargers, went to the Bengals, went to the Redskins, and he just wasn't there for any of those deep playoff runs for any of those teams. I think Coy Bacon's a Hall of Famer. I do. And the Rams waived him on this day in 1968, but brought him back 2 days later, put him on the practice squad. On this day in 1978, the Rams released Raphael Septien, quickly scooped up by the Cowboys, in favor of Frank Corral. Frank Corral beat out the incumbent Raphael Septien. Septien had been the Rams kicker in 77. You had Dempsey in 76 and 75. David Ray, basically what? Was David Ray from 71 through 74, 70 through 74? I'll take correction there from Steve Ramirez. Interesting about Raphael Septien is that September 14th of 77, the Rams signed him, and they released Tom Dempsey in September 11th, 1970. That's how late into the summer they went with Tom Dempsey in 77. And they had drafted Carson Long, but they cut Carson Long, the Pitt kicker, and then they signed Septien on the 14th, and he was their kicker for the rest of the year. They were really ready to move off Tom Dempsey. That was interesting. 1980, on this date, the Rams waived former Green Bay standout corner, punt returner Ken Ellis. Anyone remember Ken Ellis out there? We're number 48. And punter Ken Clark, the punter of the Super Bowl team. By 1980, the Rams decided to use Frank Corral as double duty, kicker and punter. Didn't work out real well. I think he was a better kicker. The punting thing was a little shaky for him. And on this date in 1980, the Rams traded Jim Jodat to the Seattle Seahawks for a fifth-round pick in 1982. On this date in 1991, the Rams waived former USC running back Aaron Emanuel. I think he was Quartz Hill High. Expecting so much at USC out of Aaron Emanuel. Former Detroit and Iowa quarterback Chuck Long. Former utility guy Latin Berry. Never really matched up for him. And was one of the many times they also released now actor Terry Crews. On this date in 1992, the Rams severed their relationship with All-Pro center Doug Smith. On this day in 1993, the Rams released Larry Kelm, who played 10 games with the 49ers that year, but he had started 3 seasons at inside linebacker for the Rams, 90 through 92. And unfortunately, Kelm, I believe he fell out of a tree and died in a hunting accident in 2014. 1996, the Rams traded Todd Kitchen to Denver for a fifth-round pick. If you remember Todd Kitchen, he was the guy that when I think St. Louis won, 4 of its first 5 games, and he returned a kick or something, and he started boxing the goalpost. And then when the Rams played the 49ers kicked their butt, and Ken Norton kind of mocked Todd Kitchen. Yeah, interesting. We're not on the air tomorrow. A couple things to share here. 1975, on August 27th, the Rams waived wide receiver Lance Retzel. 1979, Cody Jones goes on the IR with a ruptured Achilles. He misses the Super Bowl run. In 1984, on this date, tomorrow, August 27th, the Rams traded a low-round guy named George Radachowski to the Colts for a 1985 11th-round pick. And they used that 11th-round pick to take a guy named Doug Flutie. And then on August 27th, 1985, the Rams waived Otis Grant, George Farmer, released Joe Sheeran and Hal Stevens, a couple of USC guys there, the USC guy John Kamana and linebacker Jim Laughlin. But the real big news, August 27th, 1985, was Jack Youngblood officially retired. Yeah, Jack Youngblood officially retired August 27th, 1985. 1994, August 27th, Rams sent a 4th-round pick to the Denver Broncos for Tommy Maddox. Exactly 1 year later, 1995, the Rams released Tommy Maddox. There you go. Yeah. So I don't know if we got any more questions that piled up here. Let's see. Yeah, Steve Ramirez, 70-74, replaced by Tom Dempsey. Ugh. Yeah. There you go. Talking about David Ray. You know, David Ray was kind of listed as a kicker and wide receiver in his career. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think we got it all in there. Maybe I went too fast. Thank you guys for clicking on. Anyone have anything they want to share? Looking at my notes here to see if I missed anything. Couple of guys here just looking at who could be on the bubble. I don't know. Maybe news broke while I'm on the air now. I know the deadline is it 4 p.m. West Coast or 4 p.m. East Coast tomorrow? I'm not sure. But some of the names that are on the bubble for the Rams right now, it looks like the running back room is going to be settled. But you got to figure Drake Stoops, Laps is already gone, and Sam Stoops and Wiglusz will be released tomorrow or waived. Looks like Hunter Long is going to make this team, so that puts Miller Forrestall and Nicole Kalenic probably in the street tomorrow. Mike McAllister is worth keeping an eye on. I think the Rams will try to slip him through waivers and get him on the practice squad. Same thing with KT Levinston. Grant Miller's already gone. A.J. Akuri is another one. Played all the whole preseason. Got a lot of snaps. I just don't know if there's any way to keep him, around without making him pass through waivers. Same thing for Zach Thomas. Was Justin Dedich, the USC guy, was he released yet? I didn't see him on any list yet. Maybe it comes down to him and McAllister and such. But Zach Thomas looked a lot better at guard than he did at tackle. It would be good to see if the Rams could keep both him and Akiri. Let's see. You got, Braden Fisk, Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown. DeJuan Johnson did not play. Looks like he's made the team. Laurel Murchison is banged up. He might go on that 4-week IR. Corey Durden is still out there with the team. And then, of course, Thule from Washington, David Olajiga, that's it, Olajiga, the Brit. He's going to go on the practice squad because he's a Euro, and he's got that import tag on him. And then there's Anthony Goodlow. Darius Williams, Tre'Davious White, Kobe Durant, Darian Kendrick we know is out. Josh Wallace didn't play, right? Josh Wallace did not play, and that makes you wonder about Josh Wallace because Trey Tomlinson played, and Sean Jolly played, and Cam Lampkin played. And, Trey Tomlinson, man, doesn't look too prosperous right now. Of course, the linebacker room, we were talking about it. They usually kept 3 to 4 last year. Ernest Jones, Christian Roseboom, Jake Hummel, Troy Reeder. Fadu Kasi is gone. Elias Neal has not been tagged yet as being released. And then, of course, Omar Speights has made the team. Let's look at the safeties here. You got Cam Curl, Quentin Lake, Russ Yeast. All those guys make sense. Cameron Kitchens. And Kenny Logan's already been blown out. And it comes down to Jalen McCullough, who didn't play a whole lot on Saturday, and then Charles Woods. I don't even know if Charles Woods did play. Whatever that means, to me, it means Jason Taylor II is in trouble. That's what it means to me. Edge, Jared Verse, Brennan Jackson, Washington State kid, Byron Young, Michael Hoyt, Nick Hampton. I think they're good. Keir Thomas, you're right, and Zach Von Valkenburg, right? I like Von Valkenburg better than I do Keir Thomas. I think he's a little more active. Again, those are some names there to keep an eye on in terms of who's going to get cut. Keir Thomas, I think he's about completed his run, right? He kind of falls into that Marquise Copeland, category. Hang around for a while, doesn't get too many shots, right? I used to have Jonah Williams in that, but Jonah Williams was a starter last year, and he did pretty well. Let's see what else we got here. I think we went through that list. I will be surprised to see what the Rams do. Are they going to keep 7 receivers? 1, 2. Yeah, I'm looking at them. Jordan Whittington, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Johnson, Xavier Smith. I mean, that's a lot of receivers. And again, I think also the other aspect of it is that you've got to be careful because the way the kick return thing is set up now, you can't have too many big guys on these return teams anymore. You got to have guys that can run. And so there we go. I'll hang around for another 2.5 minutes. I think we blew through most of this. I'll recap on Ernest Jones. I don't want to see him traded. I think there was a thing there where the Rams go find out what you're worth, and because the Rams aren't going to give him the $20 million. The Ravens are giving Roquan Smith. They haven't been to a Super Bowl in 11 years. The 49ers, they're not going to give him Fred Warner money, which is $19 million. I think the 49ers wish some of that $19 million can be shared among Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk right now because they're 0 for 2 in their Super Bowls. And I will say, everyone hails Kyle Shanahan as a genius. Kyle Shanahan got schooled by Andy Reid down the stretch in that game in the Super Bowl last year. Bears haven't been to a Super Bowl since the days of Rex Grossman. They're paying 18 rocks to Tremaine Edmonds. Bills, Matt Milano, $14 million. Steelers, Patrick Queen, 13.6. And the Texans, Al Shahir, 11.3. Are the Rams going to pay that money to Ernest Jones? I do not think they're going to. And they're going to make those hard calls that the Cowboys are incapable of making and move off of people. No matter how painful it is the right decision not to pay Ernest Jones. Maybe Ernest comes in and says, give me 9, give me 8 for 3 years and guarantee it all. That would be awesome. But I do not see the Rams giving him that dough. Steve Ramirez, I wonder if they cut down to 53 or 51 to possibly claim other teams. Yeah, that's why I kind of went through to see who's getting released, who's out there. That's Mike White intrigued me, right? Because he has had a couple of moments in the NFL with the Jets, not so many with the Dolphins. He's a backup quarterback. but he wouldn't cost anything. He'd be happy to still be in the league if you really doubted Stetson. But I don't think the Rams right now are doubting Stetson. And again, Stetson's supposed to be a third-string quarterback. So I don't think there's any issue there. I think the numbers right now, I don't think there's going to be an off-ball linebacker the Rams want. I don't think there's going to be a corner out there the Rams want. I don't think there's going to be a safety out there the Rams want. I don't think there's a receiver out there the Rams want. I don't think there's a running back out there the Rams want. And I don't think there's an offensive lineman out there the Rams want. I think the only places that maybe a little bit, the defensive line, maybe. Who do the Rams really want? And of course, I think we also know that just because you survive Tuesday doesn't mean you're going to survive Wednesday or Thursday, because, as other players become available, we'll see. If the Rams move, let's just say they move Tutu Atwell to another team for a 6th-round pick or a 5th-round pick. Let's just say, wouldn't that be marvelous, a 5th-round pick? Let's just say they move him. Well, that opens a spot, right? That opens a spot. If Ernest Jones gets moved, that opens up a spot. But again, I think some of those things are highly unlikely. I could be totally wrong. I could see Tutu being moved before I can see Ernest Jones being moved. It just can. And I don't want it to happen, but that's what I see. That's what I see happening. Any other questions coming in? I'm looking at this here. Let's see here. I guess I can do that. Okay, sure. We're on the right side. I got minutes to play with. If you guys have to vamoose, you guys can. But real quick, running down the NFC West, I think the Seahawks, if everything goes well, I think they're a 9-win team, more likely a 7 to 8 win team. Same thing with the Cardinals, because you've got to trust Kyler Murray. I don't. I think Frisco is in real trouble. They could be a 9-win team. If they don't get this Trent Williams thing worked out, forget Brandon Ayuk. They could be in serious trouble. And so I'm not too worried about them. The Vikings, they lost J.J. McCarthy, and unless suddenly Kevin O'Connell finds something that no one else has found with Sam Darnold, I don't think the Vikings are a real threat. I think the Bears could – I'm not buying Bear hype just yet because of Hard Knocks. Maybe by the end of the year, the Bears are a team you don't want to play. I'm glad the Rams are getting them in week 4 in Chicago with decent weather, most likely at the end of September. The Packers do scare me a little bit. And, of course, the Lions do scare me a little bit. NFC South, Falcons seem like they're all in. And so, they signed Justin Simmons. They made the trade for Matthew Judon. They feel like they're all in. They got receivers, they got a running back, they got a defensive offensive line, and they got an experienced quarterback with one waiting in the wings. I think Tampa Bay is going to have struggles. I think New Orleans is going to have struggles. I mean, New Orleans is struggling so bad that I saw highlights of Spencer Rattler, and people were saying, hey, man, maybe this is the future and stuff. And so I don't know if I want to go there. And then, of course, Carolina. Not yet, right? Not yet. Bill, just saying John Wolford released. Oh, please. No, Bill. No, we do not. I don't want John Wolford back. John Wolford to be the equivalent of bringing back Brett Rippon. I don't want to see it. I've seen that movie, right? It's like sitting through a Fast and Furious movie. It just bores me, right? Movies with car chases just bore me, and Matt Wolford would wear me out. Tim Burns, Mathis didn't do enough. Absolutely. He fit the suit. He's like the Johnny Bravo of the Rams. Did you see him? He could run fast. He looked like Terrell Lewis. Terrell Lewis fit the suit, right? He looked really good. But in the end, you just never saw any production from Mathis. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what it was. And I mean, just seeing him come off the ball and bull into people like Nick Hampton did this preseason, you never saw that from Mathis. I saw some pursuit where he showed a lot of speed last year, but then he kind of fell off the map the back half of the season. And think about that. The Rams chose at this point so far Van Valkenburg over O'Shawn Mathis. So good call there. In the NFC East, I think the Cowboys are in trouble. I do. I'm not sold on the Eagles, but I think they got a good enough team that they're probably going to make the playoffs. And keep your eye on the Taxkins, right? Keep your eye on the Taxkins. And and Jaden Daniels. Keep an eye on them. We're going to see how they look. And the Giants, they're probably a certain stretch away from really being anybody's worry, right? NFC West, the talk is the Raiders are a quarterback away from really being contenders. We'll see how Gardner Minshew does. And the Chiefs, of course, everybody, Bo Nix, everyone's in love with Bo Nix right now, and you can understand why. It's not just hype. You see him play. You understand why people are really happy about Bo Nix. And then you got the Chargers, right? And yeah, I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to pound the ball, but I think until this roster is completely flipped into a Jim Harbaugh roster, I think it's already on the way. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be holdups. They're turning that power game. They're going to be trouble for people. So yeah, they're going to be trouble for people, but I don't know if they're going to be dangerous. I still think it's KC's division. Tim Burns, is Keith Null the worst Rams quarterback ever? I don't know, man. After watching Brett Rippon's one game last year, it's tough to go back to the days of Keith Null, right? We could throw in there Brock Berlin, Jeff Smoker, right? Is it volume? Is it how little you play or how much you play? Because I mentioned Tony Banks on here about 6, 7, 8 months ago, and man, my lines lit up about people with anger towards Tony Banks in the late 90s, right? And yeah, that was kind of funny. Looking at the NFC, AFC East, you got the Dolphins, who I don't trust. I'm not a big Tua guy. I don't trust them. You got the Jets, who, if they could stay healthy, will be interesting. The Bills, I love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. I hope they do well. I hope they go all the way to the Super Bowl and lose to the Rams. That would be great. That means the Rams get another Super Bowl and Buffalo remains consistent and picks a 5th Super Bowl loss. I think that would be fantastic to see. New England, on the other hand, is terrible. New England looked awful, and they are bad. And then you get to the AFC North. I think the Steelers are in trouble. I do. I really think they're in trouble, and people are high on the Browns. If they get 2019 Deshaun Watson, maybe they're going to be great. But I haven't seen 2019 Deshaun Watson since 2019. And right now, the Bengals, I don't even know if Jamar Chase is in camp right now. They're going to need Jamar Chase, and they got to keep Joe Burrow healthy. I think it's Baltimore's division, and as long as Lamar is healthy, I think it's Baltimore's division in the AFC East. In the AFC South, Titans are going to struggle, I think. The Colts, if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy, I think they're going to be trouble. They're going to be in trouble for a lot of teams. But I think this is Houston and Jacksonville's division, and those two teams are going to go at it pretty good. Who stays healthy? Can the Jacksonville snap back? 2 years ago, they're a playoff team. Last year, they were trending that way, and then everything fell apart. They couldn't keep Trevor Lawrence healthy, and it'll be interesting to see. Everything kind of went well. Everything went well for Houston last year, but are they going to get some pushback this year? Are they going to hit those bumps in the road that young teams hit, and how will they respond? Yeah, Steve, I do think the Jags bounce back. I think there was a lot of things that happened down the stretch last year that took them out, and I think that they are poised to snap back, and we'll see. Still, it's KC in the AFC, and in the NFC. Pick your poison. Rams, Lions, Rams, Packers, 49ers. I might even put the 49ers 4th, even if Ayuk and Trent Williams were back. And the Cowboys, Cowboys are cruising for a bruising. That's what I think. Everyone's going to get all excited. They're going to win 7 of their first 9, and everyone's going to be talking about Jerry World, and then the collapse is going to come, right? The collapse is going to come. All right, guys, I think we got 1 minute left, and then we're going to get out of here. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. We'll be back Wednesday. We'll be back Friday, and I'm flirting with the idea of doing post-game Ram shows on Sundays. Those are long days for me. I'm usually preaching 3 times on Sunday. I usually come home, watch the Ram game and then just take notes for Monday. But I'm flirting with that idea. Not sure if I want to go there. And is everyone good with a 5 o'clock start? Because I was also contemplating moving RamView back to 4 p.m. Let me know what you think. I do like 5 o'clock, and we'll see what happens. All right, good to be home. Good to be back in the Ram Cave. Good to be back into a little bit of a rhythm. Send your thoughts, send your questions. Bill, Steve, BioZio, Steeler fan Rob, USA expat, Tim Burns. Thank you so much, all of you, for clicking on today. And for everyone else that is out there, if you have not liked it, if you have not subscribed, please do. So try to climb our way up into the next stratosphere. We're happy to be pushing 300. We'd like to get to a higher level, more than that, and then add some sponsors, get a better looking graphics here for the Ram Cave or something. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. God bless. Take care, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.